Am I live? I am live, I think. Hello, YouTube. Thank you for joining us for our third episode of Archaeologists in Quarantine. My name is Natasha, and today I'm joined with Angelina, who is a master's student at the University of Innsbruck in Austria. Thank you for joining us, Angelina. I'm so excited for this episode, actually.
Okay, hopefully it's working now.
It's working now, so there's no echo. For anybody who's just joined us on YouTube, we were live streaming on Instagram first. However, we didn't realize that by having an Instagram live chat and a Zoom call, which is now hosted on YouTube, that there would be an echo. I guess we didn't think about that, but that's okay. It's the joys of live streaming. Now we know for the future. Okay, so Angelina, could you please introduce yourself?
Okay, I mean, you already said I'm a master's student at the University in Innsbruck of Austria and not Australia, which is also really important because a lot of people are mixing that up. It happens all the time. So yeah, and I'm currently quarantined, so I can go anywhere else. I mean, now in Austria, the restrictions are a little bit lightening at 1st of May. They will go a little bit better there. And yes, what should I say? Yes, I wrote my bachelor thesis about Urartian cylinder seals. That's why we are going to talk about cylinder seals today in the Near East in general. Hopefully a lot of you are excited about this topic because I guess a lot of you don't even know what cylinder seals are, because it's happened to me a lot of times. That have been asked, what is a cylinder seal? I never heard of that, and I'm like, okay.
It's very honestly, when you went Angelina and I know each other from Instagram, and she messaged. Well, I sent a message asking, does anybody want to live stream with me? Like, please get in touch. And Angelina was actually the first person that replied. And we had a little chat. Yeah, you were the first. I told you, did I not tell you?
Oh, no, you did not.
Person. Yeah, so I was like, straight away, I was like, of course, I need to speak to her as soon as possible. And when you said cylinder seals, it did take me a few moments to understand what that was, because it's not something I personally even think about, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The first time I ever saw a cylinder seal was at the British Museum.
Yes.
And there was an exhibition of Assyrian culture. Amazing. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And it was my first glimpse of cuneiforms and the tablets, and then I saw these seals, and that's when my fascination started with it. So I think, first of all, we should maybe address the elephant in the room. What is a cylinder seal for people who do not know?
In general, a cylinder seal is something which have been used by officials, so especially for the government, for administrative reasons, to confirm that they have sometimes sent these clay tablets, which you have, where you have the cuneiforms, and then normally at the end, underneath, you see something like a round dot where you have a symbol inside. That's, for example, not a seal stamp. So where you have this official thing, because normally in the medieval time you have the seal rings where the king puts it on some wax or something. So in the Near East you have it normally on clay tablets, or also the seal impressions. That's where we go into the finding, where you can find the seals. So when you find the seals, you can have an impression. It's in the storage rooms where you have these big vessels which are digged inside the ground, and only the upper layer is the upper top of these storage vessels are showing. And sometimes they put a pendant or around it. I'm really sorry. Sometimes when I forget the word, my mother tongue is German, so I'm not so good in English sometimes, and I'm a little bit nervous, so I tend to forget some words. So hopefully everybody is like, okay. And yes, so you put them around, and then you put a clay on at the front, and then you roll over the seal over it, and then you have the the inscription or the symbols or the motifs which you can see on them. And also sometimes you put just a stamp on. And it's also for trading, it has been used. So sometimes you use vessels or pots to bring them to somewhere else so that the person knows which receives them, how many things he got and which are got broken on the way, so that the sender does not get any problems with that in general.
So it's very important then. It's
Yeah,
more
it
important than
was.
people realize, I would say.
Yes, it's like in medieval times with the king. It's also the same in the Near East. So you have them to in the government for the king, that he can confirm texts or laws which he has been sending over. So yes.
And I know you said it's the Near East, but what time period are we looking at in years? So we have an idea. What centuries? Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's a little bit hard because the first traces we have of seals in general are the really big ones. They're really big in size. I guess PPNB is the time called. It is something like, I guess Maria needs to help me out on this one. It's because she know more about historic.
Yes, I think actually I do know the name. I think it's called my pronunciation is terrible of this time period. But roughly in centuries, do you know the age in centuries, like in numbers, or you only know it as the formal name?
I guess it's I guess the first is. The problem is I'm not a real expert in cylinder seals. I'm still studying about it, so I know my time periods I like to have. This is something like 8th century BC to the 6th century BC, as so Bronze Age, Iron Age, and sometimes they are older. I guess 3,000.
I think
3,500,
yes, I would say
4,000.
3,500 BC is the first time that we see cylinder seals in the Near East. The first time that they archaeologically can say they have found cylinder seals, but over the span of 3,000 years, they're using it. And if memory serves, after a certain point, like in most things, if it's a good idea, you get neighboring civilizations who adopt the use of cylinder seals. And I was surprised to find the Indus Valley and Egyptian culture also adopt cylinder seals. It's very interesting to see, just like coinage. Would you by any chance see cylinder seals also as a form of propaganda, like coins? Would you say that they try to show this, or no, because it's just to show the owner's mark?
Ooh, that's really hard because
in your opinion, don't worry.
Because normally when I look at the cylinder seal, there are just deities. So normally they are god and goddess and symbols of the gods were put on. So in propaganda, I guess it's more like something like it is the owner. I own this cylinder seal, so this is my identity. It's more like this one, because I don't know the name of the article. I wanted to try to find it before I came online, but I could not find it. There was a really good article from American or British, I don't know. She wrote actually about it, how these were used as amulets sometimes. I forgot the name. I'm really sorry for her. I want to give her the credit, but I forgot it. I'm so sorry.
We can add it later into
Yes, we
the
can add it
description
later.
box if you can remember.
If
Just in case, I have a few queries on Instagram. The link for YouTube is found in the bio. So if you go into my bio, or so that's _archeo, or you can go into Behind the Trowel. Both of those have the YouTube links, or you can continue on Instagram. And a quick hello to, I think it was Ancient Faith. Ancient Faith, thank you. Angelina is awesome. So they want to say hello, and of course, hello to past preservers. So yes, I just wanted to say hello for them and anyone else who's joining, and hello to Asobuddy_6. Apologies for the mispronunciation. And Homo Archaeologist, but it's like slight different ending. So hello to everyone who's online, and especially hello to those. So continuing on, I think it would be great to show people an example of these
Yes.
seals. And whilst you're looking for that, just for anybody in case they missed it, cylinder seals are made of clay, right? They're made of clay.
No, not all in
They're
particular.
not made. Are they made of wood as well then?
No, not wood. Oh gosh, wood is so
Can you
hard to find
imagine?
in the east. It is. No, it's really hard to find in the east. I mean, no, most of the cylinder seals are made of stone. For example, limestone, alabaster, soapstone. I don't know.
Let me ask you. Shall I ask you the
Actinolite.
question again? So,
I'm
Angelina,
sorry.
I'll ask you again. So, Angelina, what's our cylinder seals made of?
Most of them are made out of stone,
Okay.
especially limestone. Sorry, this is so hard because I only know them in German and
Say it in
I had to
German.
write them
Don't
down.
worry. Don't worry. You can say it in
Alabaster,
German.
soapstone, actinolite, carnelian, and yes. So those is majority, but of course they can also be made of clay and ceramic sometimes, frit, and really seldom, but also bones and ivory. Yes,
Wow.
also, but those are really just 1, 2 or something. And sometimes, I don't know why, but they're made out of bronze.
Amazing.
Yes.
Are they maybe reused like belts or something? Is it maybe another function, or do you think those bronze ones are specifically made for seals? Because I can't imagine them making it and then using it as a seal. I wonder if it was something for like another function and then they recycle it.
I don't actually
Maybe.
know. I can't tell because I only have my literature where I got them out. So this information, so of course they're not going too deep into these kind of topics.
Okay.
And they can't analyze it because most of them are somewhere hidden in museums. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that'd be great if you could show us some examples, please.
Okay, sorry. Okay, of
No,
course.
it's okay.
Maybe I will start with, in general, how cylinder seals can look like, because we have a
Okay.
really majority of how they can look like, because normally, as you can see at the bottom left in the corner, cylinder seals, that's the normally which you can find. And then next to it, I have a small cylinder seal, and the size can vary it to each, but this is just a whole one how they can look like. It is just, of course they can have other shapes. Then I have a coin seal, but it's really seldom, as far as I know. And then we have conical stamps, and these stamps are, I guess, a big majority. These you can also, those were the first ones which you can find at excavations. So I guess these ones are really helpful because they have a lot of different types. Then the bell shaped, I guess that's more something which the north of the Near East would do. Something like Assyrians, Urartians, Hittites, something like that. And then we have this facet seal, which has on all 4 sides a symbol on them, and it also can variate. And most, as far as I know, all of the seals have holes inside that you can hang them up somewhere or put them on the rope or somewhere on your belt, or around your neck as a necklace. That's what I so far as have found. If it's broken, of course, then I don't know. But normally you can put it. I also saw when I looked up at the website of the British Museum, which is pretty good, I saw that someone was reconstructing a cylinder seal where you had it on something like made of metal that you can just roll it over it. It was quite interesting because I've never thought of this theory before, that you can roll them over.
Very
So
interesting.
yes.
I actually have a few questions through
Oh,
YouTube.
okay.
One from CGG and another from Groovy Historian. Hello, Groovy Historian. Nice to see you. So the
Hi.
first question is, oh, actually, would you like to keep this open, or maybe you'd like to show something else? Maybe to close this?
I will close this.
Yeah, if we close this, that'd be great. Perfect. Okay. So the first question is, where are seals normally found in the archaeological context?
Okay. The thing is, I know it from temples, which have been there as a deposit, something like, I was looking this word up yesterday, and I even asked my friend from America how he would say it, because I put it in Google Translate, and it says building victims, which sounds really strange to me, because in German we would say Bauopfer. So it is something you will deposit next to the altar, the cylinder seal, but not the majority. I guess it's also with a little jar besides, and then there you have also can you find cylinder seals? And then of course in the storage room with just the impression on normally. And of course on clay tablets we have them, and also on the impression. That's the most problem. You finding them, they are like 2 to 3 centimeters. They're really, really small, so they're not quite big in size. I mean, it really depends how good your eyes are, because sometimes you can overlook them. And I guess also in deposits where it has been thrown away or something in the corner of a room, and also in graves you find them actually.
And I would think the ones in the graves are the most well preserved. Generally speaking, it's where we find the juicy bits, because they hopefully have not been tampered with. But of course, we do get grave robbers at multiple stages, depending what region we're speaking of.
Yes, that's also a big problem for the cylinders, because as they are so small in size, they can be quite brought over the borders quite easily in the Near East. So I know a lot of auction houses.
Unfortunately, look, the black market and
is really big, yes.
It's really big, and it's an issue that a lot of organizations are trying to tackle. There's a whole repatriation scheme and antiquities. I've forgotten the name, and I will put it in a link somehow, but there is amazing organizations that are looking at the trafficking of ancient finds. We have another question from Groovy Historian.
Please.
Hey, Groovy Historian. And he asks, what is the most famous example of a cylinder seal?
The what example?
What is the most famous example of a cylinder seal? What's the first one that comes to mind when you think cylinder seal?
For me, those are the Neo-Assyrian seals, which are quite famous, because I specialize in this time period. I'm not specialized, but I have currently have really more look into this because of my studies, because of my master courses, which I'm taking right now. So it's Assyrian time. I don't know, there's not really a famous example which you immediately think of, which is in seal, because in particular, seals are overlooked most of the time. So I don't have an example which is really, really famous for.
I think, well, maybe even the examples that we will be showing,
yes,
those are some of the most famous, because when I think of cylinder seals, I do think of Assyrian now, or maybe Neo-Assyrian is the technical term, because I think in general, the Assyrian civilization is one of the most, I'm sorry, this is my opinion, one of the most famous civilizations, other than Egyptian, as you can see behind me here, my mother's fascination. But you know, I think it is one of the most famous Assyrian culture. Like, it's something that's so much mystery around it. There's so much fascination.
Next to the Babylonians, I guess, because of the famous Bible thing stuff, you know, the Tower of Babylonian, but which is not a tower, which is the ziggurat, which is a temple, which is in 4 corners and not round.
We do have another comment. Somebody else actually mentioned, I think it was Faith House again. What are they called? They've gone now. The message has gone.
Oh yeah.
Ancient Faith mentioned, I think the use of cylinder seals could also be for like a charm or to bless a house. I think that's what they were meaning. I'm not sure. I missed that.
For a house, I don't actually know anything. Maybe someone can correct me on this topic. I don't know for houses. I only know it for temples.
Okay.
Because as they have the deities, the goddess and gods engraved in them, and their symbols, I guess it's more common for that. But I guess it's more in the rural areas where you would do that, outside of Assyria and Babylonia, because around it. Because last week Maria mentioned how big the ancient Near East can be, so I guess it's
a large area. I don't think people realize how large this region is when you were to study it. It's so much.
Yes, because you have to keep in mind we have like, I don't know, 30 ethnic groups, like Armenians, Chaldeans, Babylonians, Assyrians, Sumerians, Akkadians, Hittites, Urians, Mitannis, Urartian, Yiddish, Jewish, the Phoenician, the Egyptian. I mean, you have so many ethnic groups there, and I can't know anything. I can't know everybody as everything about them, because, and also it's a really big time period and time range we are talking here. It is, I mean, now I'm in the late Bronze Age, early Iron Age, or Iron Age in general, which is 9th to the 6th century BC. So I'm a little bit later than Maria actually is. So now we are really doing a good timeline here with your live streams.
Yeah, so anyone who doesn't know Maria _archaeology,
Yes.
she was on episode 1 and episode 2, and we have her videos on YouTube, and they will be coming on both Instagram accounts, so you can check that out. And as you said, yeah, it's kind of worked out really well. We're going through the Near East now, so just going back onto Instagram and YouTube.
Sorry.
Pliviet to New Archaeological School, nice to see you. They're based in Ukraine. And then we have a question on YouTube.
Oh God.
Okay. I like this point by Hussam Botros. Some of the seals had tiny images and shapes. Any idea how they managed to engrave them with such fine detail? I think it's now like the technique, you know, like how with the cylinder seals, how did they make it? It's a mystery. If you're not sure, you can just say that.
God, the problem is I forgot to look it up in English.
Okay, say it in German. Say it in German. As Saladin Ibrahimpour, sorry if I mispronounced, he said it's okay to say it in German. So please.
Is it really okay to tell it in
it's
German?
Okay because I can make subtitles later, so no problem. If you'd like to say it in German, please do. So don't worry.
Also dadurch, dass diese Rollsiegel eben so klein sind, I guess it's now completely weird for everybody that I speak now in German.
No, it's okay.
Now to hear my German accent. Es ist so, diese Rollsiegel sind sehr klein, das heißt, die wurden mit einem speziellen kleinen Bohrer dort eben angebracht, und es sind alles ganz, ganz kleine Werkzeuge, wo man einfach mit eben hineingebohrt hat, eigentlich wie beim Tätowieren relativ, nur eben mit stärkeren Materialien natürlich, dass man eben dieses dann drinnen, diese Abbildungen drinnen hat. Ich weiß, dadurch, dass sie sehr klein sind, ist es natürlich sehr kompliziert, das so reinzubekommen. Actually, I would also have a recommendation for this topic, because of course I had to literature, which I of course read all the time. I would really recommend, if you have the possibility at your library, to look it up. It is called First Impressions from Dominique Colonne. There she writes actually about it in one of her chapters of the book, where she how they were engraved inside a cylinder seal, because she wrote 2 books actually about the Near Eastern seals, and they are pretty, in my opinion, they are pretty good, and it is also a good basic material to start with. So maybe if he can look Dominique Colonne First Impressions at his library, it would be great, because there she can even say it in English because she wrote it in English. So I guess she's little bit better for this one. I'm really sorry that I did not look it up
No, do not apologize.
in English, because I completely forgot that this question would pop up, because of course, yes, how were they engraved? Of course. Yes.
Look, honestly, it's just a pleasure to be able to speak with you, and the fact that you're doing it in English, I think for all of us, we can appreciate this. And later on, I'll just add, we will add subtitles. It's not an issue at all. I will also write in the description the book by Dominique, in case anybody's interested. And maybe we can do a separate little video about the engraving. So no problem at all.
Yes,
Don't worry about it.
Sorry, I forgot the engraves.
Don't worry, it's normal. So I'm thinking it'll be nice again to see some more pictures, some more examples of these cylinder seals.
I will show you one more. Maybe we will take now from the British Museum, which I think is also a good example, because this one, as you can see, this is also from the Near Assyrian time. And yeah, you can see a hunting scene. I mean, I can explain it. You see a man, and there he holds a bow inside, and he has something before him which looks like a snake. So
very interesting.
Yes, this was also...
I was going to say, you got that famous Neo-Assyrian pose here with the bow. It's, I think, what most people would associate is this sort of positioning.
I don't know. Actually, I would do something else. Maybe I can just give me a second. I will show another picture, because I have so many examples.
It's okay. Hopefully this will inspire people to do some more research while they're at home.
Yes.
So it's no problem.
This actually I draw at one of my classes by myself. And this one, I guess there are so many symbols on it from god to goddess. This is really a detailed one. It's also a New Assyrian one, but I don't know where it is actually from, because they got it over the black market or at the auction house. It is something like mentioned. And those are in Berlin in the Pergamon Museum, the original. And as you can see, there is in the middle, there is something like a man which has the scorpion hands and the scorpion tail. And on his top, there is this winged sun disk, which I think is a really famous symbol for the New Assyrian time. And I would say in general. Yes, so most of them, and of course you have Ishtar or Inanna, how you want to say it, and a lot of other gods and goddesses here. I can't go into detail because it's too much. Then I guess there are also better examples on the literature for this one, so maybe they would take it there, because if I go to explain every god and goddess, I need to look them up, because each one has their own unique symbols. And yes, so maybe, as you can see, the seals have been impressed on something like clay, or so that you can see it is actually from them. And stamps are just put on also on a clay tablet. I did not search now for clay tablet, because if you put it inside in Google clay tablets, you have really good pictures where you have the cuneiforms, and then at the bottom you have these stamps then on with the symbols. So
and even my cat now is like, wow, you can see here probably in the background. But I want to know more. Yes,
hopefully it does not get too boring. I'm really sorry if it's got too into detail for anyone, because I wanted to keep it as simple as possible.
It's really interesting, honestly. Like I'm actually really amazed, because as I said earlier, it's something that we do not put enough attention on.
No,
it's really cool. And the fact that we're talking about stone and them being able to create this on stone, and they're small, as you said, they're 3 centimeters long.
Yes,
some of them. That's
2
big.
to 3. It is so small in size. It is amazing. I guess that's what's most fascinates me about. I have showed this picture of this one with the winged sun disk on the top of the scorpion man, and or the little stars next to it, how you can engrave such details into it. I mean, I did a pretty bad job in redrawing it, but nevertheless, but
I could not do that. Yeah, just in case anybody had just seen, Angelina showed us she did a share screen, and we could see one of her drawings of what was on a cylinder seal. And I'm sorry, it's a great, because now people understand how much detail can be on something so small.
Yes, that's why I
can't get over that. There's so much on there.
It is pretty much. I don't know why I choose it. Maybe because I like the symbols on it.
Yeah.
And I was really.
We do have another question from Hussam Buttress on YouTube. He's asked, does the cylinder seals help us understand the ancient history? I would say yes. It's a material artifact that helps. What would you say? Would you agree?
I mean, every part, every object we find in archaeology is really is making, just putting something in new to the puzzle, which we are trying to create as a researcher, because we find bones, and bones, cool. And where's the context? Where is this and where is that? And out of these things, we can come up with civilizations. We can say all these things. We can make a puzzle big, growing, which just not seeing the human as it is, but as what he also did beside living, beside eating, beside all these stuff. So so I guess it understands that when civilization went on, they had to come up with an idea how to organize things, how to make things official, how to sign documents that they are from the king, and the laws made up by the king. So I guess the cylinder seals in this case are for that important, to how they came up to make things more official in general.
I'd have to agree. And as you said, really, archaeology is all about finding the missing pieces of the puzzle. Yes. And all it takes is, like, sometimes you could be searching for 50 years, 100 years for that one piece that as soon as you find it, you understand the whole region, you understand what's going on, the movement of people. And for us, material culture is so important, and it's kind of what we look for. It's any glimpse. Because as soon as we find material culture, that helps us associate an archaeological stratigraphy, the context of what we're excavating. We then know roughly how old the floor might be from the type of brick, the material of the brick. So I think, yes, it's really important. And thank you for the question, Hussam. Let's see, I'm going to just check. Okay, I've got another question from Saladin Ibrahimipur. Sorry, Saladin, for mispronouncing your surname.
I guess those are all the Iranians which I have in my, of course, because Elamites, I forgot the Elamites, which are located in Iran. This because I also add them to my research. Also, I just think the Near East is so big, and sometimes they're okay. Sorry, go on with the question.
It's okay. So Saladin has asked, what was your aim in studying the seals, and specifically cylinder seals? So why did you choose cylinder seals? What drew you to it? In a few words, if possible.
I did my bachelor thesis about it. So actually, it was first mentioned by my professor, the idea to do cylinder seals. And then I was like, okay, I will got into it. And his wife held a course at our university as a class. And I went to it, and then it was like, okay, that's my topic. That's my topic, because I was so impressed how these small little things can have just a small world, I would say, or just small engravings on them. And I don't know, have so many impressions and things to say. And also, now I just got fascinated how small they are and how many symbols can be put on to such a small seal, and how important it was at the government, at the administrative, in coming up with all these things. And I think that's why I got into them, and why I study them now. Also, I also Google at Academia Edu after articles, which are open source, of course, and always look up for new ones. And yes, I think them quite interesting.
I would have to agree. And I think after speaking to you, so many more people will be interested in your subject. After your master's, would you want to continue in academia and maybe pursue cinder seals in more detail, or you're not sure yet?
That's my problem. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard, especially now with current times, which gets us on to, I guess, the subject of this live stream, and that is
Yes.
archaeologists in quarantine. So how has it affected you being in quarantine?
I'm stuck at home like everybody else. I mean, now the restriction in Austria are getting a little bit lighter. So at the 1st of May, I guess I already said it at the beginning of the stream, we are lessen the restriction. So we now can go to other people. And also our university closed down after 1 week when they opened it. And it was completely shut down. So of course now we all have been affected by the library closed down, like every other archaeologist right now at the moment. And every class is now online. So the university came up with their own platforms to provide us with the study materials, how to do conferences, how to show PowerPoints, because I have to prepare now for presentations because I have 3 courses right now. And for all of them, I have to prepare presentations for them. So we are doing them online.
Wow. Well, it's an interesting time for most people, and I think a lot of people who don't study archaeology need to understand really a lot of the students, they need library because you have, as Maria mentioned before in the previous
Yes.
episode, there's so much sources that we cannot take out. You know, you need to have them in special conditions, you need to seek permission to access some of these
Yes.
historical documents. So unfortunately it has affected a lot of people within our sort of sector,
Yeah.
if you like, in the historical side, archaeological, archiving, all of that.
Yes. And my excursion has been postponed to next year, which I need for my master's. And also my excavations, I don't know about them because now they are kept on hold because we can't really say how it's going on because as I'm a Near Eastern archaeologist, we tend to travel outside of the country, so we need to fly somewhere else. And yes, that's where we don't know if we can fly to Georgia or Armenia this year.
So were you supposed to be going this year for field school?
I go every year to field school
Okay.
since I'm studying archaeology. So I've been in Austria near my university to excavations. I've been in Italy to a survey once. And of course now all this year, as now I'm more focusing on the Near East, I've always go with my professor to Armenia and Georgia.
Oh, amazing. It's such a shame that
Yes.
potentially you will not be able to go. I think a lot of people will feel for you in this current situation. They're not able to go on their field schools that everybody looks forward to. But that's when I say, well, come and join the commercial archaeology side. We're waiting for you. We need help. We need more bodies, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
true. I mean, I'm not joking. Like, come to the UK. We need some more excavators. We need field archaeologists.
Okay, because we have also some not commercial but private companies in Austria, and we don't know if they have any money. I was also thinking up to excavate here in Austria, but I don't know if they have enough money to even excavate in summer. I don't know. So
It's
every
always,
everything is kept on hold and it's quite unsure. So
well, we're still running at the moment. Depending where you are, your company, the region, we're still doing the commercial side. We're still going strong, because of course we're on construction sites. Predominantly our work is on
yeah,
construction. You know, like so pre-development
yes,
phase. If they need new housing, well, we need to go there first to
yeah.
excavate the archaeology. So it's a very interesting time for us. I have another question
Oh,
on YouTube. Okay, let's see. This is from Alexander. Hello, Alexander. Well, привет. I can see it's Russian. What is interesting? Yours is very interesting. Could Angelina remember her research practice? I think he means field school and maybe some interesting finds. So I think what he means is, what's the most memorable field school you've been on, the excavation? What's your funnest memory of being in the field?
Oh gosh, I have so many. That's my problem. I can't really say. I mean, also the findings or in
I think it's like
general.
artifacts. You know, some people have like a favorite site, or there's that one time they find something and they always remember that. So like my first thing that I found was I remember this, my first day on an archaeological excavation at university, and I found a Roman horse tooth.
Wow.
And I remember that. And I remember there's a photo of me holding it in my hand. So
Oh,
happy.
that's cool.
So I
Yes.
think, things like this. Yeah.
The thing is, I guess my dream would find a cylinder seal, of course, because we haven't actually found one yet. But every year we are fingers crossed that we will find one. And what should I say? I found once here in Austria a glass bracelet. But just not in whole, but just half of it. And it was really well preserved, even though we have only the half. It looks pretty good. And I guess the other one was in Armenia, where I found a pearl which was the size of my thumbnail. Like it was really small. It was just this big in size. I found a really small pearl from a part of a necklace in Armenia, and it's a really big side. It was even, I guess, the same after we washed it, after we cleaned it, not washing, just
dry cleaning.
It was blue, and when it got out of the floor, it had the same color as the layer, and it was like, oh, I found such a small thing. that's what got stuck in my mind. This glass bracelet from in Austria and the small pearl.
Oh, amazing. It's true, because I don't think people realize, especially some objects, they get stained by the material around them. They either get stained by the deposit, like the soil, or they stain the soil. Like it's one of those things. So sometimes you can get this type of clay building material or charcoal. Charcoal's a good example. Yes. So charcoal could stain the ground. It could make it all black or this brownish color, but it's the staining of the material. It oozes into the deposit. Yeah. Let's see if any more. I think we've answered all the questions. Just want to make sure everyone's happy with. Yes, I think we have. Yes, brilliant. Wow, it's nearly. We've been speaking for what, 40 minutes? I think 45 minutes. So much for being 20 minutes.
I'm so sorry to everyone which is still here. I never thought it would get so long.
Okay, well, I think we know why it's gone on for so long, because Angelina also has a podcast. Yes.
Yes, so, I do have one.
So what is your podcast focusing on? And I'm assuming it's in German, yes?
Yes, of course, it's in German, because my partner and I, we discussed it to do it in English, but we tried it and then we were like, no, as we are not native speaker, we are not so focusing. I would say we don't really have a focus. It's just a hobby. So we talk about what we came up with, what we have in mind. But I guess in particular, it's young students at around the age of 20 to 30, which can relate to our problems. And also in particular women, I guess, because we talk about university a lot, and we talk about her cats. She has 2 cats. And yes, that's what we talk a lot about, and all other stuff about cooking, which she loves to do. And I also recorded one podcast episode about my excavation in the Caucasian region. So
I think we should put a link on in the bio about that. We'll put that in the descriptions. We'll find a link.
Oh,
okay. Why not? Yes. That'd be good.
Yes,
for any German followers.
German yes.
Yeah, of course. For any German speakers, I think they'll enjoy that. Or anybody learning German as well.
then they hear the Austrian dialect, then they can also.
Exactly.
Yes.
As Ancient Faith says, I must agree with you. Archaeology can be spoken about for hours. There's so many now jokes. Because we're doing this
Yes.
live stream, a lot of people are joking, saying, I understand why archaeologists need to work outside and in the field. They have too much to talk about.
Yeah, I guess we have to talk too much about it. I'm really sorry. Normally, when I'm doing some presentation, I have my PowerPoints and then they're like 10 to 15 minutes long. I'm really sorry for everyone which is now still here and listening to me, because normally I don't speak so much about cylinder seals.
No, it's brilliant. It's been so much fun speaking with you. It really has. I think we've all enjoyed it. And there will be like a short edited version online for everybody at some point. I hope to get
Yes.
out. I've got to edit
No
the episode for
worries.
Saturday first. But I think that's it. Oh, one more question. I was just about to say I think we're done, but okay, let's answer this last question from Petros. Okay. Is it some interesting in Sumerian mythology about connection with alliance? A lot of strange pictures and symbols from this time. I think they would like to maybe speak about the similarities of Sumerian mythology and maybe its connection with material culture. I'm not sure.
Okay, because I know from some time periods, of course, we all have to keep in mind the most famous saga, I don't know,
Yes,
is the Gilgamesh epos. So, of course, I guess it is in Babylonian time. There we have a lot of lion symbols, but also Gilgamesh standing in between them, where he holds up the lions. So this is, of course, lions are also a big symbol in the Near East. And I know from some of the seals, there are also lions imprinted on the seals or on the stamps. Hopefully it answers the question a little bit, because Sumerians, I mean, there's so many, as I told you.
It's a large subject in itself. There's so much material culture and of course the written records, so it's a lot more to dive deeper into. So thank you at least for giving us the iconography, I think is the correct term. The images, that is true. It's one of the most famous images associated, especially lions. It's interesting that they use lions so much. I think it's a form of power, I would assume.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we have okay. Thank you, Hissam. I think it was to do with more of the somewhat conspiracy of Sumerian culture being linked to aliens. I think that's what the question was. Of course, this is like one of the most famous. I think it's the handbag. That's what they see all the time on these YouTube channels. You see a lot of different examples of them with a handbag, and I think a watch that they have. I mean, it's pretty cool to think that, and for people to spend time on connecting different images from all over the place. I think it's
okay.
It's fun. Hey, it's a theory. People are allowed their opinion. It's okay.
No, it's not about that one. It's just I know that a lot of symbols are also all over the world, which are...
I mean, that in itself, I've done a few programs before, and look, signs and symbols, they do surround us, and they are everywhere we go. If you look at something from, 15,000 years ago to now, if you look at pottery, things like this, you do see the same symbology. Now, it being used in the same way for the same purpose, we can only speculate because we are interpreting it now from our point of view of how society is now. We can't jump back in time to what they were thinking, what they were seeing, So we see the sun and the crescent a lot, and people associate that with the fact that that's all they could see. They would always see the sun and the crescents, and for them to document that was in itself something. And they appreciated it and they needed it. It was a form of their life for harvesting and so on. But yes, it's definitely interesting. And there's one question from Meladin Rakev, apologies for the mispronunciation. Can we hear more about your current work in Georgia and Armenia?
What does he particularly mean?
I think it's because you mentioned earlier about how you were excavating. So I think like what if you allow to say, very like, okay, yes, you can't say. So this is one thing the public should know. A lot of the work that we do has a lot of protection around it, and that's really to save the archaeological deposits, the archaeology itself. Unfortunately, certain regions are at more risk of being ransacked, of being disturbed with people who want to take artifacts and sell them and destroy any possible way for us to fully understand what was going on in that area. So unfortunately, we can't sometimes say where we are digging, what we are excavating, what we are researching, and that's really to protect the archaeology itself, which is for us the most important thing. Even in my profession, in commercial archaeology, I cannot always say where I am or what I'm doing. I cannot put a picture online of where I currently am. I have to wait. I have to wait for permission, because is that site secure? Do I have permission from the client, from the person who owns that land? Unfortunately, we live in a time where we need permission for everything. Yes. So it's all about censorship, if you like. And back to YouTube. Let's see. And for Instagram, hello to Rajarat. Thank you for joining. Yep, okay. And Paths Unwritten, thank you for your comments. I like them. And as they said, it doesn't take space age or alien technology to attach or strap for convenience to carry something. Exactly. Nice comment. It's true. I think what it is, people just like, it's something fascinating for people. It's a fascination. The idea of UFOs and ufologists, which is a term I learned very recently, ufologists. Yes, okay. It's interesting. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like to see other people's interpretation of something, because archaeology is about interpretation, and some people have more time to gather information from different sources. I think for some reason they're able to find all these examples from multiple places that will take a researcher some time to do. So in a way, it's a good way to find straight away examples of something and in different time periods. So it's quite cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's any more questions, now is your time. I mean, we've gone through quite a lot.
Because we are now nearly streaming an hour, I guess.
Yes, and I'm thinking about the editing. Okay. Thank you. Yes, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. You can get notifications then of when we next go live. And Angelina, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I am sure so many people are honestly so enthused and excited about something that many people didn't even know about, cylinder seals,
Yes, because you see them at a museum and then you're like, okay, it's an object, it's another one. And you go straight and you just normally you don't really look at them and you just go to the next one. I mean, of course, the eye-catching ones are the metal ones, the gold stuff, these cups where you have gold or something else, of course, and the graves which has gold and everything inside. I know it's more eye-catching, but also sometimes also the small things makes also importance in the field of archaeology, in the research in particular. Yes. So thank you very much, Chasha, for having me over. Even that I did not even know I was your first one which replied. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy that you did. And of course, as soon as you replied, I was like, yes, we must. I think that's it. Yes, because we've been streaming for 1 hour. So as I said before, thank you so much for joining us. It's been amazing. It really has. And I will put some links in the description box, and at some point in the near future we will have this episode condensed down into a few small shorts so everyone can maybe share them. Once again, please subscribe and follow Angelina on Instagram. It's actually her name that you can see on the screen right now, but I've also include it in the description and on my stories on Instagram. I think that's it. I think it's time to say goodbye. It's been so much fun. I don't want to say goodbye, but I think
Well,
next time we can speak about something a little bit different. Maybe, who knows?
we will see. I don't know. But then you have to tell me beforehand so that I can prepare in English, because as you know, I'm not a native speaking person. I really need to look at a lot of things up.
It's just even the fact that you take extra time to do that, it's really much appreciated, and thank you so much, because it's sometimes so difficult to get research out in multiple languages. It's really tough. There's a lot of stuff in German, French, English, and Russian. There's so much material in these languages.
Yes, and I sometimes I think it's quite sad, because as I did the Rauchin cylinder seals, of course I had to look stuff up, and a lot of written in Armenian and Russian, and I can't speak these languages. So, or Turkish, also Turkish, and Georgian, also all in this language. So it is like, oh gosh, I'm sitting here. I guess I need some information out of these papers, but I don't want to ask anyone to translate it, because otherwise, it's too much. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, if anybody has any more questions after watching this stream, please write in your comments, and if we have enough of them, we may do another live stream to answer them, like a Q&A. So please, if you do have any questions we haven't answered, please just type them in, and maybe another time we can address them. I've said that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I think we should say goodbye on Instagram. So I'm just going to turn that off. So bye on Instagram. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm now going to try and end this on Instagram. There we go. Perfect. That's done. Angelina, thank you so much. You're currently still on YouTube. So everybody watching on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, everything. Click on the links in the description and research cinder seals, because they are more important than you ever realized. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.